welcome back as we continue our search, our quest for the best out-of-the-box striker fire pistol between $350 and $550. Today we're looking at the FN 509. It released on the market this year in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And so what we are going to do is we're going to look at the shootability of the gun, the reliability, and of course the price. So first up in this segment that we always do an accuracy test first. And when we say accuracy, obviously we're assuming that most guns out of the box are going to be absolutely accurate. It's the shooter that is inaccurate with the gun. So a couple factors that help make the shooter accurate in comparison with the gun. First is going to be the trigger press. How well does the trigger break? How light is it? How short is it? All those different types of factors that help me not anticipate the shot before the shot's taken. The second factor is, of course, the sights. What are the sights communicating to me as a shooter of point of aim and point of impact? Now, really we see where the rubber meets the road at 25. A lot of people like to do these tests at 7 yards, at 15 yards, for whatever applications that they want to do. But for us and our purposes, we are going to do it at 25 yards, like we always do, on a splatterburst targets bullseye, and let's see what we do. So we're gonna slow fire this, 15 rounds, speed it up for time's sake. All right, so after 15 rounds here at 25 yards, let's go see how well the sights and the trigger helped me get on at 25 yards. I think you're gonna be impressed. Not with me, it's the gun, what the gun can do. All right, so here we are. Ooh, look at that. Looksy daisies. Wow, we had a lot in that little bullseye. I threw some shots, right? I think my finger was too high upon the trigger on this shot, which is a problem, is a gripe I have about the FN 509. But other than that, the trigger and the sights helped me get on paper at 25 yards. So besides shooting precisely at 25 yards and doing that slow fire, how well at like 15 or 16 yards can the gun help me keep a good cadence at on an A-zone size piece of steel? So here we go, we're gonna ask ourselves, what does the gun feel like when it recoils in my hands? How fast can I pick up the sights? And how well does the trigger help me just maintain that constant pace? Okay, so not too bad. Threw a couple shots, but you know, that's to be expected. It's a small-ish target, but neither here nor there. I feel like I can shoot other guns faster and other guns more accurately, but you know, the recoil impulse for this gun and kind of what the sights and the guns are communicating to me, not too bad. I like it a lot. All right, so here we are at 50, asking ourselves the question, how does the 509 help me as a shooter be accurate and consistent and quick as a shooter at 50, making those connection hits? So had some misses there to start off with, primarily because I had to do some adjustments. It didn't feel like where the sights were and what my eyes were seeing was where the bullet was going. It seems like it was shooting a little high, so I brought it down, and then I brought it to the right. So I came down and to the right, down at the bottom right-hand corner of the target of what I can see, and just wildly inconsistent, and partially because of that is because they've got these combat sights. They're these big, fat, thick sights that basically look like a golf ball on the end of your gun. So at 50, they don't really help me be precise like it was easy to be precise there at 25. All right, so let's look at some features of the 509 because it is a very aesthetically pleasing gun. We've got 17 rounds in its magazine and one in the pipe, so it is a more fuller size pistol, something that a duty cop would wear. So I do like the size of the pistol. I don't feel as though it's too big or too cumbersome, but I really do like the size of the pistol. I think it's a good size for 17 rounds. It's got front and rear cocking serrations, which are very sharp. I like them a lot. It makes me feel and remind me of aftermarket cocking serrations. So I think that FN did a really good job on those. You've got the ambidextrous slide release, which is very handy if you're left-handed or if you're doing some more defensive application shootings, and I can't get that with my left hand because I'm weak sauce. There we go. Ambidextrous magazine release. But here's my problem. This one right here, I push it and it's very, I have to push it very deep, and I have to change my entire grip upon the firearm and then push it. I'm putting a lot of force. But over here on the left side, it just comes out really easily. So I don't know if that's a manufacturer defect. I don't know if that's how they wanted to begin with. I have no idea, but that's something that really annoys me. You've got adjustable back straps, which are very nice. And of course, we'll get into the sights here right now. So, these are those glow-in-the-dark sights that we saw from the CZ, which are really nice. Basically what this means is that if you go from a illuminated environment like outside, going into a dark house or going into a barn or anything like that, these sights really do help glow and pop out. So those are very nice. It's a combat sight picture from what I'm able to tell, and really what that means is where the dot is, not where the front sight post is cutting in half, but where the dot is where the bullet's going to go. So I can be accurate to a point, and I can be precise, but it doesn't seem to be helping me at 50 yards though. So that's something kind of a gripe of mine. The texture of the 509 in my hand, I like how it feels. I like where my hands can sit. There's a nice little kind of shelf right here. It's not very big, but it's good enough for who it's for, as far as having pressure in towards the firearm and down towards the firearm as I create that leverage to keep the gun in place as I shoot it. So the grip is nice. You can of course switch out the back straps, but when I hold the gun and I shoot the gun, I like it. I don't like shooting this over like the Canic or anything. I think the Canic is a little bit more shootable than this gun. The things that I love / hate about this gun. First of all, let's look at the awesomeness of the trigger. Very little pre-travel to a wall, a very crisp break, and no over travel, meaning that the trigger is not traveling all the way back here to the frame. Watch this again. There's no hiccup, there's no upchuck, it's just, and then the reset. Here's my gripe about the trigger, a couple of gripes. First of all, the trigger is very sluggish, meaning it's not positive, it's not helping me at all, and it's very faint and dainty. This is a pansy trigger reset. It's almost like there's friction between the frame of the gun and the trigger that keeps the trigger from having a positive reset. Now on my FN S9 that we're going to be looking at, it doesn't do that. So I don't know if it's just this gun, or I don't know if it's other 509 models. So leave me a comment in the description below, or in the comment section, if you have found that the reset is sluggish. Another thing I don't like about the trigger is the trigger safety in of itself. Basically, it's just like prevents, if anything were to press the trigger right here, but if I press it hard enough from right here, right, I can get that right there. I can get the gun to go off, and I'm wearing out the trigger safety. I can see that I'm wearing it out and it's rounding off a little bit. So I don't understand the trigger safety. Another thing I don't like about this trigger is that it doesn't help me shoot quickly. And the reason why is because where my finger is aligned along the slide, and where my finger sits, where my hand sits in relation to the trigger, this trigger breaks too short. Now what that means is that I wish the trigger broke more back here, because then I could just, my finger could do this motion, boop, 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 as opposed to having to do boop, 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 boop right here. Now I know this doesn't seem like much of a difference, but shooting quickly right here and shooting quickly with the finger outstretched like this are two different things for me, and so that's a personal gripe. So how's the 509 done in the reliability department? Well, it is actually done very, very well. I've had a little over 1,400 rounds of this gun today. I'm very impressed with the reliability of the gun. I've had zero issues, zero stovepipes, no failure to feeds, failure to ejects, no light primer strikes, nothing like that. I'm extremely impressed with the pistol. The only issues of reliability that I can find is that I do not like the magazines. The followers are not very good. They kind of get stuck every now and then. I've had them get stuck when I fully load them, and so I have to end up banging them for a second and then they get back. But they've not failed while I've been shooting the gun, only while I've been loading the gun. So let's put it through the Indiana dirt test. Let's look at the sand test and the baptism test and see how he holds up. Let's do that Indiana dirt test, shall we? Let's get some Indiana dirt debris. Oh gosh, I hate it. Ah, wah. Oh gosh. All right, let's see what this piece of crap can do. The trigger's just not wanting to reset. I got my finger off of it, and then it resets. But it fired everything, but the triggers just didn't want to reset at all. Now we have the sand test of the FN09. Get some really fine sand, all water. Whoa. Other side there. Yuck. All right, see how it does. Ooh, doesn't want to go back in the battery. Trigger. Manually reset it. I have to use my finger every time to do this, to reset the trigger. Didn't want to lock back, but everything fired, although the trigger decided it didn't want to reset. Okay, so after all of our sins, we must wash the VP, or the VP9, the 509, white as snow. Cue baptism reference. And here we go. Trigger's not wanting to reset. Click. We have a failure to eject, like kind of a stovepipe. Came out just fine. Fed again. Doesn't want to reset. Let's see what happened there. Failure to eject. So it just didn't have enough oomph to get in. Another failure right there. Just not looking good, 509. Didn't want to lock back, but that's okay. Well, mercy's sakes, when we look at the 509, how does it rate in all of its departments? Well, the grip, I'm going to give a 7 out of 10. I think the grip is very good. I think it's very ergonomical for most people. For me, it's just kind of, it's not what I'm used to, but I still like it. It's got a place for my thumb, adjustable back strap, good stipple or rough texture to let me hold on the gun. Overall, I like that in conjunction with the bore axis, although it's a little high, the shootability of the gun works really well. So the grip, 7 out of 10. Now when it comes to the sights, obviously as you saw at 25 yards, doing pretty good. I like the shooting that the sights and the trigger helped me get on at 25 yards, right? But when I went out to 50, I just couldn't hit Dillio. And I don't know if it was just the holdover or hold under. I'm just not that smart to know the difference. All I want to know is if I put the sights on the target, from my point of aim, is there going to be a point of impact? And I just didn't feel like the gun was helping me as a shooter get on at 50. So for that, I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10. Now when it comes to the trigger, obviously the trigger is very nice on this gun. The trigger is not placed where I want it to be placed and where it breaks in relation to how close the trigger face is to the frame. But nevertheless, with the lack of trigger safety, I don't really like that feature. But when we consider that the trigger kept failing when it got dirt or sand or water and it just wouldn't reset, and it was having a sluggish time resetting to begin with, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Obviously, it's a very nice trigger, one of the nicest triggers that we felt. But guys, if the trigger doesn't reset properly or if it doesn't work, it don't mean nothing. So the reliability, what do we look at like this? Like I said, I've had about 1,400 rounds, a little over 1,400 rounds in filming this. that the gun worked flawlessly, but when it went under adverse shooting conditions, it did not want to work. The trigger kept failing. Once we got it wet, the gun didn't want to work any longer after that, probably in conjunction with magazine issues, but neither here nor there, the gun just didn't want to work. So with all of that, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. Now I know I gave the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 2.0 a 4 out of 10, but that's because it had issues leading up into our reliability testing, right? And it failed on camera. This did flawless until we started putting it under adverse shooting conditions, and then it decided it didn't want to work any longer. So if you're following at home, looking at the overall score of this, I'm gonna give it a 6.375 out of 10. So one of the lower scoring guns, and it's gonna be a gun that I'm not gonna recommend that you buy for 540 bucks like I paid for it. So it's just like, I don't really know if you're one of those diehard FN fans, probably you like it a little bit more, but I'm not a big fan of the pistol. Given its overall performance and reliability, how it helps me shoot as a shooter. But does that mean that all FN guns are trashy? Of course not. Join us next time as we look at a pistol I really, really like, have had a little bit more shooting with, the FNS 5 or the FNS 9 from FN. So the reason why we're going to do this gun right back to back is just in case you're looking to compare the two. You'll be able to have a good comparison, hopefully a good comparison of the two pistols. So join us next time as we continue our quest for the best out-of-the-box pistol. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Like and subscribe, comment, share with your friends. All those things help me. Turn on those post notifications so that you know when a new video drops. Baret Fawbush, aka True Exodus via the Instagrammy, signing out.